Sam and his wife Linda have 5 kids who all went to Wyomissing Area High School. Each of the 5 and their spouses live in Wyomissing. There are 12 grandchildren and 1 soon-to-be great-grandchild. Now, as family is very important to the Macrinas, their children are Dan, Bethany, Mark, Tim, and Sarah. In just a few moments, joining Sam and his wife Linda on the field will be his grandson Jordan Allman, who wears number 15 and is the captain of the Spartan football team. On behalf of the Spartan football family and the Wyomissing community, we say to you, United States Navy Petty Officer Sam Macrina, thank you, sir. And on behalf of the Wyomissing community, we say thanks for raising your family here, Sam. All right, Spartan fans, you know the drill. Spartan fans, get on your feet.
All right, test 1, 2. Testing. All right. Welcome to the A field in Wyomissing, Pennsylvania. It is state playoff football, District 3 AAA. The Wyomissing Spartans ready to take on the stunning team of the season, practically. The Boiling Springs Bubblers from 0-10 a season ago into a district playoff appearance this season. Hello, everyone. Bob Rotrug here with you. Happy Halloween. I wore my special Halloween tie just for the occasion. Bob Wolfram's Wyomissing Spartans finishing off their 9th undefeated season. This one with only 5 wins, though, 5-0. They outscored their opponents 249-9. That is a credit to Wyomissing and how good this team is this year. They still believe this is the best team that they have had since the 2012 team that won the state championship in Hershey. This one they are hoping might be able to get back to Hershey. They've got a long road to get there. But the lopsided scores, 249-9, that's also a reflection of the competition that YO had this season as well. They did not play many good teams this year, so they had a lot of blowout games. So it's going to be interesting to see. For Boiling Springs, 0-10 last year, they've got the 4-headed monster rushing attack, and they play a very similar style wing team, maybe a little more straightforward than Bob Wolfram's Wyomissing Spartans. So it's not exactly like looking into a mirror, but there are some similarities there. And he's seen the film, and he actually went out and saw them in person in what ended up as their lone loss of the year in a very tight contest, 20-16 against the Middletown Blue Raiders. And Middletown won big yesterday over Bermudian Springs, so they are in the district final for a 5th consecutive season. It might be 4 out of 5 times for Middletown to face Wyomissing if YO can get there, but Wyomissing will not have home field advantage next week, provided that they defeat this Boiling Springs team, because Middletown, on the last day of the season, even after these teams were done playing, Middletown ended up just leapfrogging Wyomissing barely in the power rankings, even though Middletown had a loss and YO was undefeated. But YO's strength of schedule was so poor through no fault of their own, and they even lost an opponent one week when Twin Valley was unable to play and Wyomissing could not find a replacement. That ended up costing them, because if they had played that game and we assumed that they would have won, they'd been dominating their opponents this year, YO would have had the points to be ahead of Middletown. They were hoping and kind of expecting, I think, to get that 1 seed, so it was kind of a surprise on the result of the Steel High game on Saturday afternoon. Well, that was enough strength of schedule for Middletown to have the 1 seed, and therefore they will host next week whoever wins this game here at the A field in Wyomissing for the Spartans against the Boiling Springs Bubblers. These two teams are meeting for a 3rd time ever they don't see a lot of each other. 2014, also in the district quarterfinals. Of course, only 4 teams qualified this year, not 8. But in the District 3 AA quarterfinals in 2014, Wyomissing defeated the Bubblers 42-16. The first score of that game was a safety. We have some good defense on both of these sides as well. Wyo has had 4 shutouts in 5 games. They've allowed 9 points this year, only 3 points surrendered by the first string. And then they also met in 2000, and Wyo defeated Bowling Springs 38-20. Here comes our national anthem, Wyo and Boiling Springs, coming up on SFBN.
And Amory Thompson, along with number 15, Jordan.
Well, here we go with the 27th playoff appearance all-time for Bob Wolfram's Wyomissing Spartans. And we have Jordan Allman along with Amory Thompson deep to receive for the Spartans, wearing their blue jerseys here at home. The Bubblers out of Boiling Springs, Pennsylvania, a little west of Harrisburg, near Carlisle pretty much. And the third ever meeting between Boiling Springs and Wyomissing. Jack Lang is the name of their kicker. He's also a running back. And kind of a short kick that will be fielded at about the 30-yard line. And spinning around off of a couple of tacklers there is Charlie McIntyre, who brings it out to the 30. He really caught that at about the 20. And that is where quarterback Zach Zeckman and the Spartans will start things up. And for Zach Zeckman, he has been waiting for this moment for a very long time. The quarterback to begin last season took a knee injury in the first half of the first game and was done for the year. Allman rotated back and played quarterback for the rest of the year. So Zeckman then this season doesn't even know if we're going to have a season. Teams were canceling and the coronavirus pandemic causing all kinds of issues. Okay, here's a handoff. It's big Evan Nadrowski, the state javelin champ, who's going to plow forward for 5 yards on the handoff from Zach Zeckman. Last year, Wyomissing defeated Middletown for their 8th district championship. It was 24-21. The district title will go through Middletown again for a 5th consecutive year. Middletown had won 3 straight before they lost to Wyo. Nadrowski was huge in that game. Speaking of huge, in motion is Richard Williams moving over to left tackle. Handoff, Nadrowski has blockers in front of him, and a gain of a couple will bring up 3rd and 3 for Wyo. Because of all of the blowout wins for Wyomissing and basically Bob Wolfram with the big leads in the first quarter and the first half and needing to find a way to keep the scores down, these guys have not played a full game all season. They are rotating out in the second half after they get to the mercy rule. So this is a little new. It's a team that can actually contend with Wyo. Here's Nadrowski, a big hole, and a good block for Rashard Williams. So Nadrowski on 3 straight carries has a first down and up to the 48-yard line. So Nadrowski 3 carries for 18 yards already. Boiling Springs is going to run the ball a lot when they get the ball as well. They have some good defense. They can handle some of the sweeps outside, and Boiling Springs will attempt some of that themselves as well. Boiling Springs really packing 11 guys in the box. Here's Amory Thompson. He's going to cut back after he was thinking sweep. Then he cut it back the other way and came in kind of underneath when he saw that Boiling Springs had it covered. So Amory Thompson with a gain of 3, 2nd and 7 to the 49-yard line of the Bubblers of Boiling Springs. What a story for Boiling Springs and their third-year head coach Brad Zell. 0-10 last year. Signs of some improvement there and sort of killing themselves with penalties when they only had 62 points all year. This is Nadrowski again, diving forward to the 45 or to the 44. 3rd and a long 2 is coming up from the 45. It's not going to be nearly as easy for Wyo as it has been in their previous games. Boiling Springs felt they had something. But I think at the beginning of the year, if you told them that they would be just 4 points shy of an undefeated season and go into the district playoffs after they had been 0-10 a year ago, many would have said, that sounds nice, we appreciate it. Here's Nadrowski. He's breaking a couple tackles, and he's dragging along with them Nathan Young all the way down to the 30 and the 28. Nadrowski's 5th carry of the game, and that is good for about a 20-yard pickup, make it about 18 yards to the 17-yard line. Nadrowski 5 carries for 40 yards right now, and we are at the 7th play of this drive. Wyomissing has yet to pass the ball. 1st and 10 from the Boiling Springs 28. Nadrowski is directly behind Zekman. Now they rotate a couple of the offensive linemen over to the left side, including Seamus Falloon and Big Rashard Williams. The handoff is to Allman, and he's going to get wrapped up and shoved out of bounds. Trying to turn the corner there is going to be a little trickier against this Boiling Springs team. Nathan Young shoved aside Jordan Allman out of bounds. A gain of 1 on the play. First quarter for the AAA District 3 semifinal. And Wyomissing trying to make it to the final for the 17th season all-time. They are 8-8 all-time in district final appearances. Make it a gain of 2 for Allman on that play. 2nd and 8 from the 26. Amory Thompson in motion. Zekman play action on the fake handoff to Allman. As a receiver, it is caught for Aiden Mack. Now, he might have been ahead of the first down marker, but shoved behind the chain as he goes out of bounds. So this will depend on the spot. So the first pass of the game is complete for Zach Zekman. He passed 25 for 40 on the regular season, 315 yards and 7 touchdowns and 1 interception. They give Mack credit on the forward progress before he was shoved backwards. That will be a first down. And Wyo moving the ball very methodically, very well against Boiling Springs, and only really 1 big gain on the 18-yard run that Nadrowski had. Zekman under center from the right hash, 1st and 10 from the 16. Thompson is in motion. Fake handoff, and then a give to Allman, and he's got blockers ahead of him. Good work for the tight end, Aiden Mack, who was able to push forward a nice little spot to find his way through for a gain of 6 for Jordan Allman, who was the quarterback last year and threw for a couple touchdown passes in the district championship against Middletown. He was thrust into the QB position when Zekman went down in the first game of the year. Allman in motion, handoff, Nadrowski on 2nd and 3 from the 10, and he's driving forward. It's tough to bring down 240 pounds, says Coach Bob Wolfram. He is shy of the goal line, but not by a lot. I think he got down to about the 2. 1st and goal from the 2 for Wyo. 12th play of the drive for Wyomissing. And a drive almost 5 minutes long. 7:05 to go in the first quarter. Here is Zach Zekman under center. And there's Thompson in motion, handoff, Nadrowski. They kind of bottle him up, but he's able to push his way through anyway. And he's in across the goal line for his 6th touchdown of the year. Wyomissing scores with 6:54 to go in the first quarter on a 2-yard touchdown run for Evan Nadrowski. Here is Aiden Cerulli for the extra point, 22 of 24 on extra points this year. I had that as 13 plays for 70 yards on that drive. Cerulli's extra point is good, and it is 7-0 Wyomissing. 13 plays on a drive of exactly 5 minutes, I beg your pardon, with 6:54 to go in the first quarter, and a good start for this Wyomissing team. There is I don't want to say there's a lot of doubt on this YO team, but everyone is very curious about this game. Will Boiling Springs be able to hang with them? Because no other team has been able to hang with Wyomissing, not even remotely close, but YO has not played a team as good as Boiling Springs this year. So if YO blows Boiling Springs out of the water in their first measuring stick test of the season here in the playoffs, of all things, then I think it's proven that YO is indeed for real. And now Middletown, who only barely beat Boiling Springs 20-16, then the Blue Raiders, who are, of course, watching this game very closely for their upcoming opponent in the district finals, they will say, okay, I mean, they already know YO is good. Middletown is good, too. They lost a lot of guys from last year's team, but the Blue Raiders are always good, and we could have a 4th time in 5 years for Wyomissing meeting Middletown in the district finals. All right, here is Cerulli to kick off, and for the first time today, Boiling Springs will have the ball. Doug Bear is deep to receive. Looks like Patrick Garvey is back there as well. The kickoff juggled by Bear. Volleyballs it, catches it, takes it to the 30. Big hole to the 35, and a fumble, and it's recovered by Blake Delavan. Amory Thompson got in there in some contact and I think forced the fumble. We have not had that many turnovers. A handful. Stephen Alexi is up front with Isaiah Fernandez and Richard Williams. An imposing defensive line. And by the way, Boiling Springs has some muscle down in the trenches on the offensive line as well. Quarterback, Colin Lundy. He is in the shotgun. And now he's going to roll left. Has a little time. Finds a receiver. Caught by Carson Garvey. Just a gain of 3. So isn't that interesting? This team that is known for a more straightforward wing tee, and now in their 3rd season kind of getting it. So they didn't have to start from scratch after the practices are canceled over the COVID pandemic. That was a huge advantage that now he's got players with experience that understand what 3rd-year head coach Brad Zell is trying to do here. That was actually a gain of 6, 2nd and 4. Lundy is out of the shotgun, has a couple of receivers wide right, including Patrick Garvey. In motion there is Doug Bear. Oh, in some big trouble and a sack. There's Richard Williams getting up to Colin Lundy, and Bruner is in there as well. And that line collapsed in a big-time hurry. A sack for YO. They have not played many teams that have thrown the ball a whole lot, and normally Boiling Springs doesn't throw it that much. Fleetwood probably, with Tanner Maddox maybe throwing the ball the most of any opponent that YO has seen this year. Wyomissing leads 7-0, 5.5 to go, first quarter, 3rd and 11 for the Bubblers here in this District 3 AAA semifinal playoff matchup. Here's a handoff coming to Joey Menke, and nowhere at all to go. Stephen Alexi got there and met him, and so did Richard Williams.
Tackle is up by Jack Feitner and Stephen Alexi.
Jack Feitner got in there actually too. Here comes a punt from Boiling Springs. Heads up and a shout out to the Feitner family cheering on their boy and their favorite player from Chicago. They are watching today's game. Boy, that is a hurried punt for Lundy, and he didn't really get much of that. It will roll out of bounds at the 40-yard line, where YO with a 7-0 lead, and Zach Zeckman and company will take over from there. So the winner to take on Middletown and it was kind of easy for Middletown over Bermudian Springs yesterday. Maybe not so easy until they really put it away in the second half. 46-7 was the final. So yeah, it was a blowout, but it was only 12-0 at halftime. So Bermudian Springs was hanging in there. All right, so Nadrowski, after his 6th touchdown of the season, and he'll be in there in his 2nd drive in a row. Amory Thompson is slot left. Here is a handoff to Thompson. He's going to sweep around to the right side, has a couple of blockers. He's smacked by Carson Garvey, who's one of their top players. Garvey leading this team and playing along with his brother Patrick Garvey. And Carson Garvey, the junior, Patrick Garvey, the senior. And with 30 tackles and 3 interceptions each for the Garvey brothers. They have good speed, and so those sweeps are a little tricky when the Garveys are chasing after you. For Wyomissing, with 4:20 to go in the first quarter, it is 2nd and 6 from their own 44. Zachman is under center. Here comes a handoff and a big hole. Yeah, that was Jason Gartner, so he's really kind of the 3rd running back there. And that's a pickup of 10 down to the Boiling Springs 45-yard line. Wyo has had so many touchdowns this year, and they outscored their opponents 249-9. But so many where they didn't really have too many long drives because they would end up getting big holes and a big play for a 50-yard run and things of that nature. Here comes an end around, a sweep for Thompson. He's going to cut it back inside, tackle for loss. They do cover those holes quickly. This is Devon James, who's one of their top running backs, and he comes in from defensive back using all of that speed that Boiling Springs has for the purple and gold out of the mid-Penn capital are the Bubblers. So a loss on the play, maybe a no gain. 2nd and 10 from the Boiling Springs 45 for the Wyomissing Spartans, leading 7-0 with 3:20 to go in the first quarter. In motion is Gartner, and Zechman, play action, gonna pass, has a receiver. Oh, a nice catch through coverage by Darren Bruner. Oh, Bruner is so good. He led the team with 13 receptions this year, including 4 touchdowns. Two-way all-league last year for a reason. A gain of 8. 3rd and 2 on the 5th play of this drive from the 32 of the Bubblers. In motion is Allman. Handoff comes to Tommy Grabowski, and he's across the 35-yard line. Is the big fullback at 5'11", 185 pounds. Grabowski, who had 9 rushes on the regular season, has a first down on a gain of 4. It will be first down from the 32 of Boiling Springs, with a 7-0 lead and 2:25 to go in the first quarter. The winner of this game hits the road next week and plays at Middletown. They barely eked it out over Wyomissing in the power rankings on the last day of the season. Zechman fake handoff now gives to Allman. He's got blockers. He's down the left sideline and in across the pylon. It is a touchdown. Jordan Allman with a 32-yard touchdown run. That's his 6th touchdown of the year. It is 13-0 Spartans. 2:03 left in the first quarter. Allman, a 32-yard touchdown sprint down the left sideline. He had a couple of blockers there to help him along the way. Aiden Cerulli is on for the extra point. One of the top kickers in the state, also one of the top punters, except he only punted once all season. His extra point is through and good. 14-0. Wyomissing is now officially staking to the world and stating to to District 3 that they are indeed for real. It's not just a reflection of the competition that they have played. Coach Bob Wolfram has said, and many agree, this is the best team that they've had since 2012 when they won the state championship. But they just didn't have that test this year, that measuring stick, and it was just so easy, and they had to keep the score down every single week practically. Their last game of the season last week was 49-0 over Schuylkill Valley on the road. 2 weeks ago, in our last game that we broadcast, was 62-0 over Kutztown, and that was with Coach Wolfram trying to keep the score down. That was also the date of their only punt of the season. They received the kickoff in the second half, and then they sent out their punting unit on first down just because they wanted to practice having a punt. I mean, the game was already out of hand at halftime, and Coach Wolfram told me they were probably planning on doing that. Hey, the Berks teams are merging with the Lancaster-Lebanon Conference in 2 years in 2022, and Coach Wolfram is looking forward to it. You want to talk about more competitive balance and getting more challenges, and you're not taking any weeks off once they form that 37-team Super League, joining the LL for all these teams from Berks. We'll see some different opponents then. Big boot from Cerulli. Caught inside the goal line. That'll be a touchback. Looked like he was going to bring it out, was Doug Bear. And I think he got a little bit of a break there, that they blew the whistle for him for the touchback, because if he had not taken the touchback, if he had started running like it appeared he was intending to do, I don't know if he would have gotten back to the 20-yard line. So 2 touchdowns in the first quarter for Wyo, and a 14-0 lead already for the Spartans. Now, if Wyo can get past Middletown next week, whoever wins this game goes to Middletown, and then the District 3 winner heads up to District 2. Will play on the road, and it might be at Lake Lehman in the Wilkes-Barre area. Scranton Prep not quite as strong this year. I don't know if they qualified. I don't think so. Here's a big run down the left sideline. Joey Menke with everyone chasing after him. Menke, one of their 4 big runners, and a gain of 25. That is another hallmark of this Bubblers team for Coach Brad Zell this year. They had a different game earlier this season. I think it was against Big Spring. They were down 7-0 early. And Coach Zell said, well, you know, last year we might have folded, even at that point, panicked some. Here, there's no panic in these guys. There's no fold. They almost came back from behind against Middletown, their only loss of the year, and a tight one, 20-16. Under center now is Lundy. In motion is Devon James. Handoff, though, is going to be pushed up the middle for not much. Aiden Metzger, a 5'11", 175-pound fullback, gain of maybe a half a yard. 2nd and 9 from the 46 of Boiling Springs. And Wyomissing leading 14-0 with a minute and a half to go here in the first quarter. So Wyo outscored its opponents this year 249-9. Touchdowns were 35-1, now 37-1. 37 touchdowns from 12 different players for Wyomissing this season. Absolutely dominant. Lundy back to throw, lobs it out there, it is caught. He just dropped it right over the shoulder of Eli Crum, who got in behind the hood for almost a 25-yard completion down to the Wyomissing 32-yard line. It's a 23-yard reception down to the Wyo 32. So Boiling Springs down 14-0. They're not going away quietly. Handoff on the sweep attempt there for Luke Newmeyer, and he ran into a whole host of Wyomissing defensive backs hustling in, including Amory Thompson on the coverage, and Jack Feitner was over there too, and that's turned into a loss of 2. Boiling Springs, if they can't pull off much on their sweeps and their end arounds, and they already did one earlier on this drive for 25 yards, but if that's not there for them, and they have to punch it up the middle repeatedly, then that makes things a lot easier for Wyomissing. They've got a lot of muscle up the middle, of course. Colin Lundy is under center, single back, and a man in motion there. It's Joey Menke, and here comes the handoff to Metzger. He's trying to go off left tackle, and maybe picked up a couple. Tommy Grabowski was in on the tackle, and maybe, yeah. And a gain of 2. 3rd and 8, that's the last play of the first quarter. They're not going to get off another one. The time is winding down, and we're through one quarter here in this District 3 AAA semifinal game. It's the Wyomissing Spartans 14 and the Boiling Springs Bubblers nothing on SFBN. Back from the A field on this happy Halloween and a gorgeous fall day. And I mean, what a setting. And it's just a shame that we can't have more fans here like we normally would and should. Lundy is rolling right as Doug Bear, a gain of a couple. That was on third down, though. It brings up 4th and 8 from the 30. It's probably a little long to try for a field goal, but you're way close here for a punt. So I'm going to guess this is 4-down territory for Boiling Springs. It's my hunch. And it sure looks like they intend on going forward on 4th and 7 from the Wyomissing 29-yard line, with the Spartans leading 14-0. And so this is kind of a big 4th down in this moment. Center Mason Sowers here with Lundy under center and 2-back set. Yeah, here's a play action on the fake handoff. Has a receiver caught, first down. That's Patrick Garvey out there, and then he was hit as he just did go across the sideline. So that's going to turn it into extra yardage on the penalty. I think that might have been Amory Thompson who got him over there. And he's contending, hey, Garvey wasn't all the way out of bounds. If I don't hit him, then he might stop short and turn and make that into more if he's able to stay in bounds. I mean, it was very close with Garvey going out of bounds and Amory Thompson, I think it was, who contacted him, but it's 15 yards on the late hit. And from the 25, from the 20. So anyway, down to the 10. And certainly Wyo hasn't burned themselves with penalties that much this year, but this helps Boiling Springs a lot. 1st and 10 from the Wyo 10. 1st and goal, actually, right on the 10. And here's a handoff trying to sweep right as Patrick Garvey. Whole host of tacklers there. Catching up to him looked like Tommy Grabowski for a loss of a couple. That was Grabowski on the attempted sweep end around try for Patrick Garvey on that side. 2nd and goal from the 11 or the 12, really, for Boiling Springs. With 10:45 to go in the second quarter, and the Wyomissing Spartans leading the Bubblers 14-0 here. From the shotgun for Lundy, has a couple receivers wide left. Doug Bear is over there. Tall Ethan Hovis is in motion, all 6'2" of them. Fake handoff. Gives it off to another man. They ran into a couple of guys there on their own team, and Wyo busted through across the offensive line and made it look easy. That was Darren Bruner who got in on the tackle, and the Boiling Springs player who was handling that ball, it might have been Metzger, is a little slow to get up. He's a little stung, and the trainer will come out while the Boiling Springs player is sitting up. And I think that is 44 Metzger, but I can't swear to it. And Boiling Springs has 3rd and goal from the 13 forthcoming, and now we have this injury timeout while they tend to the injured player. And if that's Metzger, that could be a problem because he's a big piece of their running attack. A Football Family chronicles the history of the West Reading, Wyomissing, and Wyomissing area football programs from their inception in 1944 to last year's 8th time winning a district championship. This comprehensive story is told in 248 full-color pages, including many newly published images and personal stories. As we see Metzger to his feet and walking off, and really not limping or hobbling very noticeably. So that's a good sign for Aiden Metzger that hopefully he won't be out too long and will be available to return after he was stung up a little bit there. Orders for A Football Family, the story of Wyomissing area football, at 1-800-600-9107. Or you can just Google it online, Wyomissing A Football Family, and order those books because it looks terrific. Here's Lundy back to throw on 3rd and goal. It's intercepted by Nadrowski right there on the goal line. And now Nadrowski spins off of one tackler, takes it to the 14. Lundy threw it kind of up for grabs a little bit. There was a little tip for Evan Nadrowski, and then the pick. And Wyomissing, who was driven back to their own 10, and the first-string defense was being threatened to allow a touchdown for the first time this year. They've given up 1 touchdown this season. That was the reserves in garbage time against Fleetwood in a fourth-quarter game that was already well in hand. It was 47-3 at that point, and then the touchdown made it 47-9. That's the only touchdown Wyo's given up. 37-1 touchdowns this year. Oh, a big hole. Here comes A big run for McAlp. This is Gardner down the right sideline to the 35 from his own 14. A gain of 48 to the 39-yard line on a 48-yard run with blockers paving the way for Jason Gardner. Wow. And a 14-0 lead right now for Wyo. And they just held off Boiling Springs from scoring. They had first and goal from the 10. It became third and goal from the 13 before the Nadrowski interception. I'm going to assume the Bubblers would have tried a field goal if they had dropped that pass incomplete. Zekman under center, first and goal from the 38 of Boiling Springs. Handoff here to John Huber, but the line kind of breaks down on him. And a couple of guys right on top of him, including Eli Crum, who made a big reception offensively on Boiling Springs' efforts the other way. But Crum, I think that's him. No, that's not Crum. That's somebody else who's down on the field and injured here for Boiling Springs. So that is the second time we've had a little bit of an injury break. It comes with 9:34 to go in the first half. Wyo is driving again and a 14-0 lead. The 27th playoff appearance all time for Wyomissing. In two previous times they have met Boiling Springs. Wyo is 2-0 all time against the Bubblers. So, you know, Bob Wolfram, and he's the legendary head coach here, and his 400th win all time as an assistant coach or head coach, coming last week on the road at Schuylkill Valley, 49-0. And for Wolfram here as a head coach with Wyo, 318 wins since 1987. I don't think it ever gets old, though. 28th appearance in the district playoffs since 1990 for Wyomissing. The first time these two teams met was in 2000. November 10th of 2000 in the District 3 AA semifinal at Cocalico High School. And Cocalico is now going to be in that same division in Section 4 of the merged Lancaster-Lebanon conference accepting the Berks teams. That'll happen in 2 years. Anyway, in 2000, 20 years ago, Wyo defeated Boiling Springs 38-20. And then in 2014, they played again, the District 3 AA quarterfinal, and Wyomissing won 42-16. That was then, though. This is a new coach. This is Brad Zell. They have a different system going on. The injured player is their tight end, Doug Bear. And now he's walking off under his own power as well. And speaking of injured players, Aiden Metzger, who was hurt on Boiling Springs' previous drive and left without limping, I see him out there on the field right now. Defensively is Aiden Metzger. He's a fullback offensively and a linebacker defensively, so good to see that Aiden Metzger is actually okay. All right, Nadrowski is back in there and takes the handoff, but he's smacked behind the line of scrimmage. Jaden Barrick, number 45, got in there on the hit. Nadrowski popped off of him a little bit and actually turned that into something when initially on the hit by Barrick behind the line of scrimmage, it looked like Nadrowski was in a little trouble, but he turned that into a gain of a couple. It is 3rd and 9 from the 38. Jaden Barrick in week 3 against Big Spring had 2 defensive touchdowns in the same game, on a fumble recovery and then on a blocked punt recovery. All right, here's a handoff. Amory Thompson with blockers. Can he get to the first down, though, with Carson Garvey wrapping him up? And I think that Amory Thompson fell short. And this might be a little bit beyond Cerule's range, so it's going to be close on what they want to do here. Well, it's down to the 32, 4th and 4 from the 32. So it would be about a 49-yarder for Cerule. I think he could on a good day, but here I think it's the correct call for Bob Wolfram to go for it, trying to build on a 14-0 lead. It is 4th and 4 from the 32 of Boiling Springs. Zekman is under center, has Allman behind him. Fake handoff, play action, has Bruner downfield, complete, tiptoeing the sideline, but he falls out of bounds. What a nice play in good hands for Darren Bruner. Bruner, 2-way all-league last year, and he is a treat to watch. He's their top receiver. So on a 4th and 4, play action on the fake handoff to Allman, and Bruner is open, but that's his second catch of the game, and both of them have been nicely thrown by Zegman, but neither one of them were easy. So Bruner catching that, and he could have, if he stayed in bounds, he would have turned that into a touchdown, but momentum, he knew he touched the sideline. 1st and 10 from the 13 for Wyomissing, just short. Julian DeMeo was there and had a big block for Allman to carry it down to the 2. 1st and goal. It was 1st and 10 from the 13, so that was an 11-yard run for Allman. 1st and goal from the 2 for Wyomissing. 249-9 coming in, and now 263-9 against their opponents all season. 3 shutouts in a row for Wyomissing, 4 out of 5 this year. Here comes Nadrowski, and he's just going to drive his way forward. They can't bring down the big man. 2nd touchdown of the game for Evan Nadrowski, and his 7th of the year. Both of his touchdowns have been 2-yard runs, and with 7:27 to go in the second quarter, it is now 20-0 Wyomissing. Nadrowski with a couple. Allman had a 32-yard touchdown run. And now here is Aiden Cerulli on for the extra point. That kick is perfect. 3 for 3 today is Cerulli. It is 21-0. And I'm here to tell you right now, I am a little surprised. I thought that Boiling Springs would be hanging in there in this game a little bit more than what we've seen so far. I mean, this is their year. They're the team of the season, really, in their own way, because they were 0-10 a season ago. And even though people were expecting, okay, they're not going to go winless this year again, are they? They should be pretty good because they bring so many players back. Okay, that's nice. But nobody expected them to start off 3-0. Big win over Susquehanna to begin the season, 51-13, ended an 11-game losing streak for them. And then over Trinity, 42-0. They had a tougher battle against Big Spring. They trailed early before they put together a few scores in the first half, and they won 35-21. And then the big one against Middletown. And Boiling Springs was in that right to the very end in a 20-16 loss, recovered an onside kick. It was a Middletown defensive stop that kept the Blue Raiders on top. And then over Camp Hill last week made it look easy, more or less, 35-0. The Garveys and all of their runners that they have, but Wyo is doing what they do, and they've kept up the intensity through their practices. I mean, they know that they're playing teams that they are going to mostly dominate through this season, and they did. A winless team like Kutztown, for example. But they were challenging themselves because of this moment, when they're going to face the teams where now we get the big ones, the playoff games, with the opponents that can kind of keep up with them here. Here's the kickoff to Devon James, cuts it back inside, across the 30, diving to the 33-yard line, where Colin Lundy and the Boiling Springs Bubblers will take over. They drove well the last time they had the ball and got it down to the 10-yard line, but on 3rd and goal, the interception for Nadrowski. So, yeah, he's got 2 touchdowns and saved a different touchdown on the interception on a pass into the end zone. So really, that's practically 3 scores. That's a 14-point turnaround for Nadrowski plays. Intercepts a pass that would have been a touchdown for Boiling Springs, then way down on the other side of the field scores another touchdown for himself. Here is a handoff for Devon James. And that wasn't James, that was a fake handoff to him. Lundy has some good deception there, and it's a little tricky to see. That was Joey Menke who actually carried it, and I don't know if he got very far. So families are allowed to attend to this game, but we weren't allowed to sell tickets and have the big crowd that we would have regularly normally hoped for here. So not exactly the same kind of atmosphere, but that, the fact that we're playing at all. And we found out that when Bob Wolfram was talking about it at the beginning of the season, hey, we're just hoping to play from one week to the next. That was for real. They lost one of their games this year, and it in fact cost them the 1 seed when they could not find an opponent after Twin Valley had canceled on them in week 4. And then from 1 week to the next, and you ask the Harrisburg Cougars, who fought their way to playing 4 games, playoff eligible, and then right after the brackets were officially announced for the districts, they had a COVID situation. They had to forfeit. You're just hoping that you get to play from 1 week to the next in a season where we've had so many different forfeits, and just trying to make it work and find an opponent from 1 week to the next as well, which YO was not able to do, and they sure as heck tried. All right, 3rd and 11 from their own 31 for the Bubblers with under 6 minutes to go. Oh, here comes Grabowski, hit him from behind, but Lundy got rid of it, and it is complete and caught by Eli Crum. Lundy did not see Grabowski, who came around from the right side from behind and was awfully excited because he came in untouched. Grabowski smacked into him, but Lundy had just gotten rid of the ball for the completion for Crum. It's 4th and 9. They will punt. And Lundy is their punter as well. Amory Thompson is deep to return. YO has too many men on the field. They blow the whistle here, and they call a timeout is what they did, because they were trying to figure out their special teams and their punt coverage, and Rashard Williams, all 315 pounds of him, was sprinting as best as he could to the sideline so they wouldn't have 12 players. And Coach Wolfram, or one of the assistants down there, said, hang on a second, this might not work very well. And so they called timeout right before the snap. 4th and 9 from the 33 with 5:22 to go in the first half and a 21-0 lead for the Spartans. So next week would be at Middletown, and then the quarterfinals for states for whoever wins, YO or Middletown or Boiling Springs if they can come back. That would be at District 2 up near Wilkes-Barre. Lake Lehman, Lakeland, and Scranton Prep, the contenders there. And there was another game that was going on today, actually, with Lake Lehman looking to clinch their playoff spot. The winner of that could be at home the following week. All right, so the punt off the timeout, and it's not going to make it out to Thompson. And so about to the 43-yard line. So if you look further ahead, the second round of the PIAA unless necessary. And that was an announcement earlier this week. So YO, if they keep winning today and then Middletown next week and then maybe Lake Lehman or Lakeland the following week. So we're going way down the schedule here. But on November 21st, they might be back at home for the state semifinal game against maybe District 4, I guess. Here's Amory Thompson on the handoff from Zeckman. And has a couple blockers there, but Thompson's kind of doing this on his own. Devon James and Doug Bear are shoving him around. Doug Bear was, is that Bear? Or that's actually Menke, I think. I wanted to make note of Doug Bear because he had left with an injury earlier, but that was 23 Menke, who was kind of wrapping up Amory Thompson, but not before. It was a 4-yard gain for Thompson. 2nd and 6 from almost exactly on the 50. Really on their own 49 for YO. With 4:40 left in the first half and a 21-0 lead. Zach Zeckman under center, Thompson in motion, play action, and now he's going to pass it out to Bruner. Oh, what a catch for Bruner. He goes airborne over Carson Garvey, one of the best defensive backs in the area. And Bruner with a fingertip catch went way up high and brought it back from what would have been Carson Garvey's 4th interception of the season. A tremendous play for Darren Bruner. I'm telling you, when I saw that play developing, I thought I was looking at an interception in the making. I thought the pass was going to fall short, and Garvey goes high, and Bruner went higher and reached in front of Garvey and pulled it in for his 3rd catch of the game. Bruner is having a phenomenal game. Zeckman, handoff. Here's Huber, and he has blockers there. Shoving along with him is Gartner, and Huber for a gain of maybe 5 or so. With under 4 minutes to go in the first half, and Wyomissing a 21-0 lead. So you look at these guys. It's not Nadrowski and Allman. It's Amory Thompson and John Huber and Gartner, and now here's Tommy Grabowski entering the game with some reps, and Andrew Eisenhower as well. This team is so deep, and not all of these guys are seniors. So a team that went 12-1 last year returned a lot of their players. They're going to be good next season too. Zach Zeckman won't be here, though. He's a senior. And here's a handoff. Oh, it's a big hole for Gartner. And now he's down the right sideline for the pylon. He just fell short. Oh, Jason Gardner almost had the team's 4th touchdown of the game, what would have been their 39th of the season. He was shoved out of bounds at about the 2. 1st and goal for the Spartans. Wyomissing ready to punch it in for their 4th score of the game with 3:19 to go in the first half. It'll be 1st and goal from the 3. Big pickup there for Jason Gardner. Grabowski and Eisenhower are out there. Eisenhower slot right. Grabowski directly behind Zach Zeckman. Handoff here, and here comes Eisenhower trying to push his way through to the goal line, but the Bubblers will wrap him up. Trenton Nagel is a junior defensive back who was in on the coverage. So was Travis Cannon, a linebacker, a sophomore. And he really didn't get anywhere at all. Probably no gain on the run there. So 2nd and goal from the 3. Really a loss of 1 maybe. 2nd and goal from the 4. Okay, 28 is Jason Gardner. Wide right is Bruner. 2nd and goal from the 4. Thompson in motion. And yeah, play action. He's looking for Thompson. Zeckman keeps it himself. Runs into a couple of tacklers. Aiming for the goal line is Zach Zeckman, but he didn't make it there. Zeckman had 4 rushes in the regular season. That's his 5th official carry of the year. Gain of maybe a yard. I thought Avery Thompson was open, and Zeckman saw him and thought the coverage was a little bit too tight. And didn't want to risk it there, so he kept it himself. He also, I think, thought he could and felt that he could make it to the goal line, and he didn't. So 3rd and goal from the 3. Amory Thompson is slot left, and behind him is Grabowski. Here's a handoff. Grabowski, big hole. He's in. Touchdown! Tommy Grabowski. It's the 4th touchdown of the game and the 3rd of the season. So Grabowski on the 3-yard run. And this is not as easy as it has been against the other opponents. But Wyomissing is still dominating. In some of the other games, they've taken the lead so quickly, they're just trying to keep the score down. Wyomissing isn't doing that here. And now the kick is up and good for Aiden Cerulli, who was a perfect 4 for 4 today. 2 touchdowns in the first half for Nadrowski and Allman. 2 touchdowns in the second quarter for Nadrowski and Grabowski. An intercept 7 game. There's your turning point right there when Boiling Springs had driven to the Wyomissing 10 and got nothing out of it, and picked off by Nadrowski, and about 4 or 5 plays later down on the other side of the field punched it in from a 2-yard run. So an interception on one goal line, back down to the other goal line. Evan Nadrowski, that's Bob Wolfram says he's tough to bring down. 240 pounds is tough to bring down. This Wyomissing team is so deep, and now we're really seeing that. Not against reserves of a different team in a game that's already reached blowout proportions, which we had over and over again through the regular season for a while. But now they're playing a team that's actually good. And Boiling Springs at 4-1, they're holding up Wyomissing some, but they're just not able to stop them. And so the Spartans with a 28-0 lead here with 1:50 to go in the first half. I didn't expect this at all. I thought this would be a closer game, and Boiling Springs early here for the kickoff. And Bear is deep along with Metzger for the Bubblers. Cerulli kind of kicks it away from those guys, but it's going to go out of bounds. Or no, it isn't. Did they pick it up there? Cerulli has had a couple of, and that wasn't an attempt at this, but he's had a couple of pooch kicks for onside recoveries. Did that in the game against Plymouth Whitemarsh, I think, when we saw that really nicely. And that was kind of a late schedule adjustment. The light schedule and the weakest strength of schedule for anyone in District 3, that was not Wyomissing's choice. Yeah, did the ball go out of bounds? So, yeah, they're going to bring it up to the 35. I thought maybe it stayed inbounds and everyone was running for it. It had gone out of bounds. So it's 1st and 10 for Brad Zell's Bubblers from the 35.
And that puts it on the 35. 1st and 10 Bubblers.
Before the COVID pandemic, this was a schedule with a lot of good teams on it. Conrad Weiser, they didn't play. They would have played in week 10. Berks Catholic is off the schedule for now. They'll be back on the schedule in a couple of years when the Berks teams merge into the Lancaster-Lebanon League. But Southern Columbia and Pottsville, I mean, they had good teams. Southern Columbia, with their 70-game win streak, would have come here October 10th. That game was canceled. The teams up there were not allowed to travel outside their conference. And so Southern Columbia and Wyo, which would have been a powerhouse matchup, instead they found Plymouth Whitemarsh, who had gone 9-2 last year. And that's a bigger program, a 5A school. And they got run right out of the field here, too, in a shutout win. Handoff here for Joey Menke. And doesn't get anywhere at all. It'll bring up 3rd and 8 for Boiling Springs. So Bob Wolfram, he made a big point of that. We lost our 5 best opponents this year. And what we are left with are 5 teams that are not able to give them the kind of challenges that they would have liked in preparation for the playoffs. But they have driven themselves. They have prepared themselves. Timeout is on the field here with 134 left in the first half. I want to check something here. I thought that Cerule's extra point was good, and yeah, it was. Okay, so the scoreboard is off. It should be 28-0, and I think they just didn't put the point up there. You do have mercy rule situations in the playoffs as well. Middletown got to that yesterday. Eventually, they led 12-0 at half, but they won 46-7. All right, turn to the corner. Joey Menke with speed. Allman will catch up to him and shove him out of bounds past the 50 to the 45-yard line. That's a gain of 18 for Menke. They've had a couple of 18-yard runs today. Boiling Springs is moving the ball, and actually they spotted at the 47 where he touched the sideline and Allman had caught up to him. And if not for the speed on the outside for Wyomissing, there could have been some bigger plays here for Boiling Springs. 1st and 10 at the Wyomissing 47 with 1:28 to go in the second quarter. And Wyo up by 4 touchdowns. Timeout for the Bubblers. And maybe Brad Zell didn't like what he was seeing in terms of the formation or wants to talk things over here. They can go to a little bit of a hurry up as well. Although the clock was stopped on that last play, so they didn't need to call the timeout to stop the clock. He had gone out of bounds. This is an opportunity for the Bubblers to get one of them back if they can keep driving. And they have been able to move the ball, including all the way down to the 10-yard line of Wyo. A Wyomissing team that on the season averaged 8.8 yards per carry. And they allowed 1.9 per carry. Over 300 yards rushing per game, and I think they could have led Berks. I think a lot of teams could have. It's just a matter of how much are you trying to keep the score down in some ways. 5 games, they had shutouts in 4 of them. They are averaging a 48-point margin of victory, which is tops in Berks. And here they lead 28-0, almost a halftime. But the Bubblers are across the Wyomissing 50 and airing it out deep and incomplete. Patrick Garvey and Nevin Carter for Wyo, both chasing after it and getting some hands in there, but the ball a little overthrown. That's a good arm there for Colin Lundy. 39 touchdowns from 12 players for Wyomissing this year. Last week against Schuylkill Valley in a 49-0 win, 14 different players carried the ball. I mean, that's how much Coach Wolfram's been spreading it around. 2nd and 10 from the 47 with 1:20 to go in the second quarter. Here's a handoff to Devont. No, fake handoff to James. Joey Menke bumps off a man. Turns that into a couple more when Amory Thompson caught up to him and got him out of bounds. Andrew Eisenhower thought he was about to wrap him up, but Menke just shoved him out of his way. Jack Feitner over there on the coverage as well. That was a lot of fighting and running and going back and forth and shoving to turn it into a gain of 1. 3rd and 9 from almost the 45. Really, it's on the 46. Probably 4-down territory again for the Bubblers. And they know that, so they don't have to get all 9 on this play necessarily. They know they've got a couple of cracks at this here. Lundy is under center, 2 backs behind him. And here's a fake handoff on the play action. He's in trouble. Gets rid of it. Oh, there was a shove out there. There was Nevin Carter with a shove. Patrick Garvey went down. There was a flag on the play. And as the ball was thrown out of bounds, and I'm not even sure if Carter catches up to that otherwise, but it will be pass interference on Nevin Gardner. Or Nevin Carter, I beg your pardon. And so I don't know if that was entirely catchable. But he saw the contact downfield, and that is a first down on what was 3rd and 9. They would have been going for it on 4th down. I don't think he catches that ball. But instead, first down to the Wyomissing 30 with 1:07 to go in the first half. Wyomissing is up 28-0, but the Bubblers are driving again. In motion is James. He takes the handoff, and now he turns the corner after he just did get past Bruner, almost tripped him up, and a little stumble there for Devon James. But James got around to the right side, the long side of the field for a gain of 6. Devon James in week 2 against Trinity had 155 yards and 3 touchdowns on just 7 carries. That's how easy it was in that game, really, for James and for Boiling Springs. Oh, he's in all kinds of trouble and throws it away with Rashard Williams in pursuit and about to wrap him up. Throws it out of bounds. All kinds of pressure on Lundy. And just dodging the sack and throwing it out of bounds and somehow avoiding the intentional grounding. So he had gotten enough out of the pocket. I mean, he was running straight backwards and chased by the big man, Rashard Williams. You've got 6'5", 315 pounds of Rashard Williams barreling at you. You would throw the ball away too, I think. 3rd and 4 from the 24 with 32 seconds left in the first half. Play action again. Throws it up the middle. Caught for Metzger. Chasing after him is Almond. And will tackle him at the 15-yard line, but that's a first down on 3rd and 4. So instead of aiming it down the sideline, he throws it just straight up the middle. Just dumps it off rather easily there. And that's the first time they've really had that kind of a play. It is timeout for the Bubblers with 1st and 10 from the Wyomissing 15 coming up. But the clock is kind of the Bubblers' enemy a bit here as well, with just 23 seconds left in the first half. So they've got to punch it in quickly. Let's see, last week, Patrick Garvey was the Penn Live, the Patriot News newspaper, the Penn Live fan vote player of the week. And I mean, they got up to 20,000 votes in this stuff. It was in a 35-0 win over Camp Hill that Garvey had an 81-yard punt return touchdown, 34-yard touchdown pass, interception, and a fumble recovery, too. These kids forced turnovers, and the Garveys have a lot of them. Carson Garvey at safety with 3 interceptions, Patrick Garvey with 3 interceptions. But it's the defense that hasn't done a whole lot. The offense trying to get it going. Oh, Lundy's in all kinds of trouble. Jack Feitner caught up to him. Stephen Alexi will share credit on that sack as well. It is a loss of over 10 yards. Lundy couldn't throw it away that time. Bubblers call timeout with 15 seconds left in the first half. So the second time that Boiling Springs has driven deep into Wyomissing territory, down to the red zone, and the first time was an Adrowski interception. It was 1st and goal from the 10, then 3rd and goal from the 13 after a couple of big losses. They're getting the big defensive plays, the tackles for loss, when the Bubblers get into the red zone. So it was 1st and goal from the 10, 3rd and goal from the 13, then the Grabowski interception. Here they had 1st and 10 from the 15, and Feitner and Alexi storm their way through on the blitz and combine for the sack. They have some muscle on this Boiling Springs offensive line, but Wyomissing is now breaking through, kind of wearing them down some, it seems. 2nd and 20 from the 25. So it was a loss of 10 on the sack and just 15 seconds left to go in the first half. Under center is Colin Lundy. Behind him is Metzger. Lundy's going to throw. Has a couple blockers. Now he's got nowhere to go. And there comes Alexi in again. And his second sack in a row. He had some coverage for he had some blockers for a little bit. He had some space for a little bit. And then the line collapsed. He didn't get rid of the ball. And Alexi with back-to-back sacks. That ends the first half.
The Spartans 27, the Bubbles 0.
Wow, what a big first half with 2 touchdowns for Evan Nadrowski and also touchdown runs for Jordan Allman and Tommy Grabowski. And we do have to make a correction here. And I had double-checked before, so I wasn't the only one that was wrong about this. Cerulli apparently did miss the last of the extra points. I thought the scoreboard was wrong. No, I was. So it is officially 27-0 at halftime, not 28-0. I think that's small consolation for the Boiling Springs Bubblers, who twice have driven down to the Wyomissing 10 and the 15 and had nothing out of it. The defensive stops there for Wyomissing when it mattered most, when the Bubblers actually could have pushed their way into this game a little bit. The first one, when Nadrowski had the interception, came right there at the goal line on 3rd and goal from the 13. If he doesn't make that pick, if it goes through for a touchdown, it's a 14-7 game, and I think we have a different texture to this game. But instead, the interception, 5 or 6 plays later, Grabowski drives it in himself for a 2-yard touchdown run, and it's almost sort of a deceiving 27-0 lead. Yes, Wyomissing is playing very well, but Boiling Springs is a good team, and you can see that this is the best team that Wyomissing has faced this year. And even with a team that can kind of hold up Wyo, they still can't keep up here in this first half, and they're in trouble. And so, in the District 3 AAA semifinal game with a winner to head to Middletown next week to take on the Blue Raiders for their 5th straight district finals appearance, it's all Wyomissing. 27-0 at halftime. I'm Bob Roatruck. Happy Halloween on this beautiful fall day from Wyomissing, Pennsylvania on SFVN.
See, I think hunting is a lot harder, particularly for so many things to do. Yeah, so many soccer players, just picking but he's accepted.
warm enough?
Oh, yeah, I am.
Yeah, it was funny watching that. Load it up.
Lyle, that guy with the camera who came up here a couple minutes ago, did you see where he went? Brandon, I mean, he's always around. I don't think you met him before.
I don't know if I had the pleasure of meeting him yet.
Yeah. He's kind of my expert on everything, but oh well.
Yeah, he starts today, goes through a bunch of days in a row. Yeah, but it's not even that. It's like people who, because the hospital scaled back, she's saying that they had to shut down this bed wing, so they can't take the people that should be shifted up into the hospital because there's room for them up in the hospital.
Fans from the Lost and Found department, your glasses, black framed glasses, you can pick them up here in the press box. Thank you.
I will. When I see her in a couple days. I mean, because our timing's so opposite. It's like, talk to her for about 5 minutes when she goes home around 4 in the morning. And I don't know. He doesn't know. I don't know. What's that?
You just let me know when, yeah?
Okay, hang on. Let me check something real quick. I'm kind of stalling to see if somebody tweets out some stats. But we're catching up.
Just let me know when, yeah?
And again, Spartan fans, you can support the team and grab some good food for yourselves this upcoming Wednesday.
Halftime here at the A Field in Wyomissing, Pennsylvania. All Spartans in the first half. Couple of drives from the Boiling Springs Bubblers that fell short. And our halftime score, not 28-0 like I thought for a little bit. It is 27-0 Wyomissing at the half. 2 times Boiling Springs drove into the red zone to the YO10 and to the YO15. Well, that drive at the end of the half that would have cut into a 27-0 lead potentially. That was cut short on back-to-back sacks Stephen Alexi with the sack to end the first half. Their first drive for Boiling Springs came when it was 14-0, and Evan Nadrowski had an interception at the goal line, and then 5 or 6 plays, and also an interception on the goal line on the other side that maybe saved the touchdown. This is a game that maybe is a bit closer than the 27-0. This is a tight community that is certainly very proud, justifiably so, of its football program. It's been my privilege. Tell me, look, and I've seen pictures and videos too, for a normal district playoff game or a backyard standing around in the grass and in the corners and bringing the lawn chairs and kind of staking out the on the road at some places for the away games. There is some limited seating here for the Boiling Springs fans. It's going to fall short here today with Boiling Springs trailing 27-0 at halftime. But it also kind of reflects on us because they knew that we were going to have issues bringing in the fans, and we couldn't let everybody come in. So there's certainly an added responsibility for us, and we take that very seriously of these players who are watching from all over the country. Just thrilled with what they're able to see here today with this product, but it's a shame that we can't have bigger crowds here joining us. Is ready to kick off. So we're ready to begin here for second half play, and Boiling Springs, who has driven the ball well a couple of times, they've had this kind of mindset of not folding when they get behind. Well, they haven't been behind by this many all season. Patrick Garvey on the return across the 25 to the 27-yard line, and the Bubblers will take over from there. So Bob Wolfram in his 34th season as the head coach here, after officially taking over for Jack Paris, who is on the sideline as an assistant coach, of course. And he is seemingly, it would appear, on his way here in his 28th playoff appearance to a 15th look in a district final, which would be next week, next Friday night at the Middletown Blue Raiders. These old friends meeting again, right? Okay. Carson Garvey is taking the snap and taking over, and now rolling left, pitches it off to Menke on a different look, cuts it back up the middle, and wrestled down by Evan Nadrowski, and a gain of 4 on the play. So Carson Garvey was taking that snap. Evan Nadrowski is a terrific player, and he's already committed collegiately, has Evan Nadrowski. He is on his way to Monmouth University, but likely not as a football player, it would seem. He's going in track and field. He is the top javelin thrower in the state. He is very good in discus and shot put as well, and he's the best athlete on this team, and he's been the best athlete in this game. Here's Garvey throwing right, and over the head of Jack Lang. You know, it was 2 sacks at the end where they caught up to Colin Lundy. And now he's not in the game to begin the second half. I see him over there on the sideline, I think. So, you know, when you have a situation like this, you wonder, is this quarterback switch just to change things up and see if they can have better results? Or is it because Lundy was dinged and hurt on one of the sacks at the end of the first half? But Lundy over there on the far sideline, he doesn't look like he's in any trouble. Well, there's a nice play. Garvey, oh, and then he got smacked by Rashard Williams. Garvey dodged away from Bruner, but big Rashard Williams plowed him down. And now Williams is coming off as the Bubblers will be punting. And Rashard Williams is one happy guy, and he's getting a lot of pats on the helmet from his teammates there. Williams, a 6'5", 315-pound senior. Bruner and Feitner trying to catch up to that. That's Lundy who's punting it. So the quarterback who's out of the game is back into the game as their punter, and he booted that to about the 50-yard line. So it's a punt of just 20 yards. Yeah, just 20 yards. And Weil will take over 27-0. We had it as 28-0 for a few minutes there before we kind of caught up and realized he had missed the extra point at the end. Mike Drago from the Reading Eagle has it as the Spartans with 270 yards in the first half to the Bubblers 66. and they were over 100 yards probably before those 2 sacks at the end. They have driven it a couple of times. All right, here's Zekman, handoff. Allman with a big hole, splits the D. He's going to take it to the house. It's a 50-yard touchdown run for Jordan Allman. Allman's second run of the game, his second touchdown of the game, and his 7th touchdown of the season, tied with Evan Adrowski for the team lead. Had a couple of blockers, but it was all speed and pretty much untouched for Allman's 50-yard run with 10:20 to go in the third quarter. It is now 33-0. Allman for 50 yards with those blockers paving the way for him.
Attempt the 2-point conversion.
They're going to go for 2 after missing the extra point on the last drive. Zekman pitches it off, and Nadrowski hit behind the line of scrimmage and tackled short of the goal line. Menke tripped him up, and Carson Garvey then landed on top of him. So the 2-point try failed, and now it is 33-0. 5 touchdowns for the Wyomissing Spartans. And here's Boiling Springs coming out of a disappointing first half where they drove deep into Wyo territory twice, but a turnover and an interception and a couple of sacks that ended it for them.
In their mutual mission to improve the well-being of its students.
And now coming out here in the second half, hoping maybe we can get a score. We get the ball first and turn this into something. But instead, we're a minute 40 into the second half, and Wyo scored again, in fact, to make it 33-0. That's, I mean, as if it weren't deflating enough. For this Boiling Springs team that has so much to be proud of, they gave Middletown everything they can handle and more. So now Middletown, watching this game as the 1 seed to host probably Wyomissing next week, they're looking at this going, I mean, Boiling Springs was really good against us, and Wyomissing is practically making it look easy. 260 yards of offense, now 310 yards of offense after the 50-yard run for Allman. Aiden Cerulli will kick it away in a 33-0 lead. Deep to return are Patrick Garvey and Doug Bear for Boiling Springs. A team that was 0-10 last year, by the way. 4-1 this year. Garvey returns it to the 25 and then kind of tripped up and tumbles at the 27-yard line. The tackle for Elijah Smith. Nobody thought this team was going to be in the district playoffs this year. People thought they gave the Blue Raiders everything they can handle in week 4. Cruised to a 35-0 win over Camp Hill last week, but here they're just running into the number 2 rated team in the state in AAA. Central Valley near Pittsburgh is still rated number 1, and they have been all season. Devon James takes the handoff, and there's Rashard Williams, who's a little stung up on that play. He's kind of holding his right leg. Yeah, he's hopping off. Ooh, Rashard Williams tried to get up, and then he just went straight back down, really hurting. Rashard Williams had that huge hit on Carson Garvey on the last drive and was so excited. But here Rashard Williams is hurting on his leg or his ankle, and so the training staff comes out to tend to him. With 9:53 to go in the third quarter. And the Wyomissing Spartans averaging 46 points per game. They lead this game 33-0. 3 shutouts in a row, and now this is 5 games out of 6 in which Wyomissing has not surrendered a single point. They gave up 9 points in one game against Fleetwood in week 2. Gave up a field goal in the first half, the only points allowed by the first string all year. And then a touchdown at the end when it was 49-3, that it became 49-9. Williams is going to be helped up, I think. Well, all the players on the Wyo side are taking a knee for their fallen teammate who's having a really tough time getting up. Ugh. Yeah, he's hurting. But now he's kind of walking a little more normally and turning that into something. So he got bumped pretty hard. He is not walking cleanly all the way. He still is hobbled, but not nearly as badly as he was to start. Yeah, he's feeling it. So they will look at Rashard Williams. Up with that. Wyo's got it.
Hangs on the keeper. He was hit. Fumble on the play. Fumble recovered by Wyomissing area.
Let's see. I think Nadrowski got that ball. Did he really? He's got 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, and now a fumble recovery, it looks like, for Nadrowski. He's not the one who forced the fumble, but I think he got there first. And Wyo has the ball and a 33-0 lead. First down from the Boiling Springs 25. I could not tell who forced the fumble, but I believe that Nadrowski had recovered it. Zach Zeckman is in
Football at the Boiling Springs 25.
with Gartner in motion. Handoff, Gartner, and around right end, a gain of about 5.
It's around right tackle.
I saw Mr. Zeckman at halftime. He said he has a couple boys on the team, and he likes the broadcasts. When he said a couple boys, I'm going, well, this must be a Zeckman with younger brother Ben Zeckman as well, perhaps the quarterback next year. And he says there Zeckmans all over the country watching this game. Shout out to the Zeckmans and the Zach Zeckman fan club. And that's the case, of course, for many of these players and their extended families watching on SFB and on YouTube. John Huber didn't get very far on that handoff from Zeckman. What a story this is for Zach Zeckman. We talked about this earlier, and it's been a storyline since the beginning of the season. This is Zach Zeckman's year. Last year was supposed to be his year as the starting quarterback, and then he took the MCL injury, and he was out with the knee injury in the first half of the first game, and he missed the rest of the season. Allman rotated into quarterback. Grabowski comes back from the offensive line to just plow his way forward as a fullback. Here's a handoff, and it's a big hole for Eisenhower. He's in. Touchdown! Andrew Eisenhower, a 20-yard touchdown run. 2 touchdowns in the first 4 minutes of the third quarter for the Wyomissing Spartans, and it's 39-0 with 8:18 to go in the third. Oh, man. So here's Eisenhower on a 20-yard run. I was absolutely anticipating a closer game than what we've seen here today. It's taken maybe a little while longer for Wyo to put this to mercy rule time, but not by much. Cerule's extra point is up, and it is good. 8:18 to go in the third quarter, and it is 40-0 here against the 4-1 Boiling Springs Bubblers in the District 3 AAA semifinal game. Only 4 teams qualified this year instead of the normal 8 shortened playoffs, so that these teams can then participate in the PIAA state tournament to begin in a couple weeks. And then also to try to get it completed by Thanksgiving, whoever's able to make it to Hershey. Everything changing. And the fact that we were able to put forth this season through all the different postponements and now some forfeits in the playoffs, including Harrisburg at the 6A level. It's been a weird year, and it's a weird district playoff game because, I mean, I don't want to say no one's here, but it is no one compared to what this would be on a normal packed house. There are some fans that are watching from outside the gate and getting an eyeful as best they can. If you're not one of the relatives, then those are the rules, and that's where we stand here now. 40-0. Cerulli the kickoff. Patrick Garvey takes it from about the 5, a little in front of the 5. Bruner will shut him out of bounds at the 23. Boiling Springs takes over there after Patrick Garvey's return. Well, Patrick Garvey is on his way out. He's a senior. Carson Garvey, very good, will return. He is a junior. And the Boiling Springs Bubblers season will end disappointingly. But it's been a season of triumph for this team that was 0-10 a year ago. This is really the team of the season. And I had read some article, and one of the players, maybe it was Doug Bear, was saying, if you had told me that we would start 3-0, we'd be in the district playoffs, we'd be playing Middletown. Oh, here's Tommy Grabowski hustling in on the sack, and he smacked down Colin Lundy, who's back in the game after Carson Garvey had handled the first drive. Grabowski with a sack and a loss of 7. And they've been coming in from his blind side a couple of times and just missing him on a couple other tries, too. 40-0 Wyo.
Sacked by Grabowski, pushes the football back to the 16-yard
So Boiling Springs is on its way. They have some good players returning, too. But this is, I mean, so many teams, they end up losing on their last game of the year. That's how it works. Boiling Springs has the option to schedule a new opponent next week, and I believe they actually have an opponent on the schedule for next week. So once you're eliminated from the playoffs, you are still allowed to continue playing games. There's some emotions involved with that, though, as well. When you get bounced from the playoffs and now you're going to play again in a game that doesn't have the same kind of feel or meaning, they might take a week off and then play again the following week. Who knows? Timeout is called by Boiling Springs. Coming up after that sack, their 4th of the game, I believe. 2nd and 16 from the 17, with 7:19 left in the third quarter and a 40-0 lead for the Spartans on their way to their 17th appearance in a district final. A Football Family chronicles the history of the West Reading, Wyomissing, and Wyomissing area football programs, beginning with their inception in 1944 to last year's thrilling District 3 AAA championship victory over Middletown 24-21, which they will hope to repeat again next week. The comprehensive story in 248 full-color pages, many newly published images and personal stories too. Such a terrific tradition with this program, summarized in A Football Family, the history of Wyomissing football. You can order online at wyofootball.com or just Google. Oh, what a great catch over the shoulder all the way downfield by Patrick Garvey. Tipped by Elijah Smith, but Gundy's pass just dropped it right in there. And a heck of a catch. Lundy to Garvey on a gain of 30 to their own 48-yard line. Yeah, Boiling Springs can play. You can also order A Football Family History of Wyomissing Area Football by calling toll-free 1-800-600-9107. Well, Lundy looked like he was going to be sacked, dodged away, and then he is brought down. Everyone was getting all over him there. Some shoving going on. Evan Nadrowski was in there, and so was Isaiah Fernandez. And let's be a little careful here. I mean, Wyo's been in a lot of games like this with blowout leads. This one has some different emotions for Boiling Springs because their playoff aspirations and hopes and dreams are coming to a close here today, and they know it. And so now you had the sack with Lundy dodging one man and then getting smacked down. So, just need to cool out for a couple of seconds here and go on to the next play. 2nd and 14 from their own 43 for the Bubblers. Wyo leads 40-0 with 5:57 to go, third quarter, delay of game. Thought there was going to be a timeout called, but it's delay of game, actually, that will be called against Boiling Springs. And one more time for that Football Family, terrific book, 248 pages. If you just Google Wyomissing A Football Family, you'll find the link and you can order that book for yourself as well. Oh, they've got a double handoff here, a reverse from James to Menke. And, yeah, got a couple of yards out of it, but not nearly what they were hoping for on a little trick play try for Brad Zell's Bubblers. Gain of 5, 3rd and 15 from their own 42. Preston Aikman enters the game. Now at a 40-0 game, you have mercy rule time with a 35-point lead, so the running clock in most situations. And the reserves will get some extra reps here, which I certainly wasn't expecting in this game. I thought it would be closer. I think many people thought it would be closer. I think Wyomissing themselves might have thought it was going to be closer today. All right, in all kinds of trouble as Lundy scrambles away, and he finds a receiver complete to Joey Menke. Boy, that's a heck of a play there by the fleet-footed Colin Lundy, dodging a couple of tacklers. I mean, everything broke down, and they've had a lot of breakdowns here on the offensive line, and Lundy's been in some trouble. They were protecting him some in the first couple drives, and I think their offensive line is just getting worn down by some of the big men on Wyomissing. Yvan Williams is in, while Rashard Williams had stepped out with his injury. All right, here's the pitch to Joey Menke, and finds a little hole there. At that one pass, oh, is there a flag? Almonte got in there on the tackle on Joey Menke. We'll bring it back. I mean, they just converted on 3rd and 15 for the Spartans on their way to a district final for a 17th time. They are 8-8 all time in district finals, even to their record officially last year with a 24-21 win against Middletown. Downs and an interception at the goal line, and I believe a fumble. Well, the game is, we have our 3rd or 4th consecutively, and the personal foul, and here's the first time Wyomissing appeared in a but they would be back. District championship for the first time when they beat York Catholic 33-0. Here in their 27th all-time playoff appearance, and they will go to 34-18 in playoff games. In the district, I should say. The district playoff record, 34-18 after the win here. Devon James takes the pitch, and a big hole as he busts it around the right side past Christian Almonte, and Jack Miller got in there on the tackle.
Timeout Spartans.
And so now Wyomissing calls timeout. And I think Bob Wolfram wants to straighten things out here because they've had a couple of penalties that they certainly couldn't have cared for. And Boiling Springs is driving for the 3rd time today deep into Wyomissing territory. They've been down to the 10 and to the 15 in the first half. And now they're down to the 21 here in the 3rd quarter. 4:13 left in the 3rd. It was 14 points in the first, 13 points in the second, 14 points in the 3rd, 6 touchdowns for Wyomissing with 2 touchdowns in each quarter.
November at Chipotle in Wyomissing, 5-9. Just mention Wyomissing football when you order.
Next week at Middletown, and then the winner goes on the road the following week for the state quarterfinals at District 2, who will host next week up in the Scranton-Wilkes-Barre area. Lake Lehman and Lakeland are a couple of the teams involved up there. That would be for the first round of states, either Wyomissing or Middletown. And then the following week, you could be bringing it back here if whoever it is wins on the road up in Wilkes-Barre and Scranton. Because the state semifinals would be at the District 3 team. They would be hosting. Knocked the chains over as he got there, and he turned it into a first down. And it's going to be 1st and goal for the 2nd time today, 1st and goal for Boiling Springs. Now, Wyomissing has some pride here on defense for sure, even in a 40-0 game. They have 4 shutouts in 5 games this year. They have not been scored upon since week 2 against Fleetwood. So it's over 3.5 games of shutout ball from the D, which is in jeopardy right now. And might end right now with Devon James falling just shy of the goal line. He's tackled over there by Matthew Kramer. So Matt Kramer, one of the backup quarterbacks. Devon James with a gain of a couple. It is 2nd and goal from the 6 for the Bubblers. So this is the furthest they have been here today, and they are threatening to get on the scoreboard. The first string defense is not in really for Wyomissing. They have not been scored upon for a touchdown all year. Touchdowns this season are 41-1 for Wyo. And now here's the pitch to the left end, Joey Menke. And does he get to the goal line? Probably not.
Menke again, this time trying the left side.
They're just going to the wide side of the field, whether it be to the left or the right. Almonte was in on the tackle. Aiden Mack as well. And a gain of a couple. third and goal from the 3, I believe. Yeah, third and goal from the 3 after a gain of 3. With 2:35 left in the third quarter, third and goal from the 3, and Boiling Springs is looking to punch it in. Devon James is behind him. Actually, this handoff to Metzger, and he is through for a touchdown. Aiden Metzger gets the Boiling Springs Bubblers on the board with 2:25 to go in the third quarter. Metzger on a 3-yard touchdown run, and it is 40-6. Here is Jack Lang for the extra point. It is up and good.
The extra point is good. 2 minutes, 25 seconds.
So 2:25 to go in the third quarter.
40.
Aiden Metzger with the 3-yard touchdown run, and it's 40-7 on the extra point by Jack Lang.
Again, lost and found department.
Nadrowski with 2 touchdowns, an interception, and I believe with a fumble recovery as well.
They are
Tommy Grabowski, a touchdown run. Jordan Allman had a 32-yard touchdown run in the first quarter and a 50-yard run in the third quarter. So Allman with 82 yards on the 2 touchdown runs. Andrew Eisenhower, a 20-yard run in the third quarter that made it 40-0. So 2 touchdowns for Nadrowski, 2 for Allman on long runs. And it's a 40-7 lead. And Wyo has been dominating. 270 total yards in the first half, according to Mike Drago of the Reading Eagle. And right as I was saying that, came the 50-yard run on the first offensive play of the second half for Wyomissing. So Ullman made it 320 yards then. So we're looking at not quite 400 yards yet for Wyomissing offensively in this game.
for the Bubblers.
Well, that is the second touchdown that Wyomissing has allowed all season, and the first that they have given up since week 2 against Fleetwood. It ends their shutout streak of over 3.5 games since they last allowed a point. Coming into this game, the combined score was 249-9, and the total touchdowns 35-1. Now the total touchdowns 41-2, the second touchdown they've given up all year. The kickoff is dropped but picked up by Charlie McIntyre, who will bring it out to the 30-yard line and tackled from there. I have a feeling Matt Kramer might be taking over at quarterback after Ben Zeckman, I should say Zach Zeckman, led his team to the first 6 touchdowns. Matt Kramer and Ben Zeckman
A penalty flag come in.
are the sophomore quarterbacks who have rotated time as the second and third, or the reserves. I don't even know if he officially has a second and a third, but Kramer has always come in as Zach Zeckman's backup. He's been the guy to come in first. So you could have a pretty decent competition for quarterback time next year between what will be 2 juniors, Matt Kramer and Ben Zeckman. Penalty on Wyo here.
A personal foul penalty against the Spartans moves the football back to
And a personal foul.
16-yard line.
They were kind of slow getting out there too. But it's a personal foul, and it's now, instead of at the 31, it's 1st and 10 from the 16. Kramer hands it off, and who's got it there? That's John Huber.
John Huber, senior
And
fullback,
Huber got quite a few of those yards back for Wyomissing. So at this juncture, you feel the game is probably over for, at least offensively, especially for Nadrowski and Allman. Save those guys for next week and a big matchup against a tough Middletown team. And yes, this is a score that looks like it's similar to some of the other blowout games earlier this season against lesser competition, but it really hasn't been the same kind of game. Wyo has been the better team. The score is a little bit deceiving. All right, here comes a handoff to, I think that's Elijah Smith there on 2nd and 1. And out to the 35. Yeah, he turned that into a first down on a gain of about 3. They're waving for the clock to keep running, and they got the chain set. We are in mercy rule time after we got to the 35-point lead. Now it is 40-7 with 1:10 to go in the third quarter. I think it's terrific when you get these rivalries, and the Wyo versus Middletown rivalry has certainly become a good one. And you're going to get the return of the Berks Catholic and Wyomissing backyard brawl rivalry forthcoming as well. Oh, here comes a big gain for Huber. 20 yards and more across midfield. You get a couple of blockers and then just keep on rolling. Middletown and Wyo first met in 2016, and the Blue Raiders won 48-20. The following year was all Blue Raiders, 49-0. 2018, Wyo got bounced before they could get to the district finals, and Middletown defeated Bermudian Springs 42-20. And Middletown just got past Bermudian Springs yesterday as well in a less close game. So that was the third straight district title for Middletown, but they could not make it 4 straight. Wyomissing got them last year 24-21 in a very tight contest. So Wyo and Berks Catholic, they've had their district finals. Wyo and Middletown for a 4th time in 5 years. That's the end of the third quarter after that big run for Huber. And at the end of 3, it's all Wyo in the District 3 AAA semifinals. Wyomissing 40, Boiling Springs 7 on SFBN.
Those who make these championships possible. And Bank, folks, understanding what's important. 4th quarter starts 1st and 10, Spartans football at the Bubblers, 45.
A chilly and a gray Halloween day for Wyo. Handoff here, Nevin Carter, and he has blockers, and he's dodging it back, cutting back inside and turning that into a gain of 15 or 20 yards here. On the carry for Nevin Carter, who had 5 rushes on the season, combining for 22 yards. He got almost that many on that one carry here alone. So much depth on this team. A team that had 14 different players run the ball last week at Schuylkill Valley in a 49-0 win to end the regular season. Yeah, 14 different players that carried the ball. And, I mean, we frequently see them go 8, 10 deep. A lot of that is just because we get to blow out proportions in the second half. Here's a handoff for Huber, but wrapped up by a whole bunch of guys, including Trey McCardle for the Bubblers catching up to him, as well as Jaden Barrick, the junior defensive lineman who had a game in week 3 in which he had 2 touchdowns from the defensive side of the ball. 40-7, Wyomissing with 10:55 to go in the 4th quarter. This has been, in a way, stunningly impressive, making it look this easy against Boiling Springs, even though the Bubblers have driven nicely 3 times. Wyo was, in control of this all the way. 2 touchdowns in each quarter. All right, here's a handoff. Coming back is Elijah Smith. See ya! All the way through for a touchdown, a 31-yard run for Elijah Smith. It's the 7th touchdown of the game. And it is 46-7, Wyomissing with 10:28 to go in the game. Little fake handoff one way and deception back the other on the give for Elijah Smith. Oh, man. And practically untouched, too. I think he might have shoved off one tackler. Ian Levering will attempt this extra point. The backup kicker, and a high snap is brought down by Ben Zeckman, but it's booted through for Levering, and good. Wyomissing 47, Boiling Springs 7, with 10:27 to go in the game. Bob Wolfram is on his way to his 319th win all-time since 1987, and another win in a district playoff game as well, which will be his 34th. His 34th District 3 playoff win. on Wyo's way to their 17th district final appearance and trying to repeat with another win over Middletown. Now, last year they played here, and Wyo was rated the top team in the state, but the following week they were in for a rude ending to their season when they lost in the state quarterfinals to Tamaqua. District 11, by the way, not even participating in the state tournament. And there were some who saw some of the issues here with District 3 and said, well, maybe we should have done that, had a wider district playoffs with the 8 teams qualifying like normal. I still don't think that's right. I mean, that would have robbed Wyomissing of the opportunity to fulfill their dream of making it all the way through to state. I mean, this team has a chance to do that. Middletown's going to have their work cut out for them next week. I think that should be a very good game. I expected this one to be a good game, though, too.
Preparing to kick off.
So District 11 opted out of the state tournament. You know, I mean, the teams that don't make it to the districts that are shortened, they can still continue their season. You had a couple of undefeated teams elsewhere at other levels that were not able to qualify for the playoffs, and that was a shame. All right, here's the kickoff from Levering. Oh, on his feet, carrying it out is Patrick Garvey to the 40. And Boiling Springs will take over from there. And again, if Wyo, and that is a huge if, we're, 2 more wins away from that, and they're not going to be easy wins. But if Wyomissing can get all the way to the state semifinal, they would be hosting. It would not be at a neutral site, at least probably. If the geography is too significant, then the state is allowed to step in and find a place in the middle so that one team doesn't have to travel too far. But they are trying to play the games on the home field, and so District 3 would host if Wyomissing or Middletown can get there. Here is a handoff to Jack Lang, and we'll gain a couple, get out of the right side. Andrew Eisenhower, with one of the 7 touchdowns today, was in on the tackle. So now you have 42 touchdowns from 12 players this season. For Elijah Smith, that was his 2nd touchdown of the year, and I believe his first was just last week against Schuylkill Valley. Eisenhower has his 3rd. Tommy Grabowski has his 3rd. Jordan Allman has a couple for his 6th and 7th. Evan Nadrowski has a couple for his 6th and 7th. And here's going to be a tackle for loss, hustling through for the big stop. That's a Payson Ziegler. Yeah, I still have 66 for Ziegler, but he had a number change, 64. That was my reason for hesitation there. I forgot to write that change on my score sheet today. Payson Ziegler, 64. He's a sophomore. And so you'll look at kids like that, 6'3", 230 pounds. On any other team, he'd be on the top string. Yeah, he's a good player. Here, he's going to wait for his chance, which is the case for a lot of good players for Wyomissing, because they have so much depth. The juniors and seniors take the top spots, and so the future is very bright for Wyomissing's upcoming seasons with kids like Payson Ziegler. 4th and 5 now for Boiling Springs with 8 minutes left in the 4th quarter, and I think they are going for it. And they are, with Patrick Garvey wide left. Lundy is under center, pitches that off to Devon James, and he cut it back inside after he was turning the quarter, and I think he maybe got the first down there. A whole host of tacklers for Wyo, including Ziegler and Austin Pinder. Yeah, he got a first down on that play. That was a nice cut for a pretty talented player in Devon James, whose high school career comes to an end this season. You normally want to say comes to an end today because it's a district playoff game, but their season doesn't have to end today. They can schedule a game for next week or the week after and have a couple more games because they only had 5 games in the regular season. They are 4-1. We'll go to 4-2. Handoff to Metzger. Right there into the line, and a gain of a couple that he pushed forward. That was Ziegler again, who had some contact in there. 2nd and 8 from the Wyomissing 47
Javen Williams.
with 6:40 left in the fourth quarter.
Payson Ziegler.
Javen Williams was in there as well. 6'4", 280 pounds is the sophomore. And we haven't seen Rashard Williams re-enter the game since his injury earlier in this quarter. It's a gain of a couple more.
James again.
And James brings it to the 45 on a gain of 2. It will be 3rd and 6. Matt Kramer, one of the 3 quarterbacks on this team, was in there on the coverage. I see Cooper Young getting some reps in there as well, a sophomore linebacker. 6 minutes to go in the game, all Spartans, with Wyomissing leading 40-7. Under center, Lundy. Here's Devon James again, and he's going to turn the corner on right end and have a first down across the 40. So Devon James is gaining pretty decent chunks of yardage here against some of the reserve defense for the most part for the Wyomissing side.
38-yard line.
Yeah, I see Cooper Young and Matt Kramer out there along with Payson Ziegler. Austin Pinder at cornerback. And here comes Jack Lang. And he saw a whole lot of bodies, tried to get away from him, and instead he made it worse. And Austin Pinder caught up to him and tackles Jack Lang for a loss of 4. That was kind of their MO, it looked like, and it worked on a couple of plays earlier. If you see it open around the corner, then go there. If not, then cut it back in. Well, here he tried to cut it back in. It was all bottled up. So then he wanted to turn it on the jets and go around the corner. That wasn't going to happen. And Austin Pinder was the first one there. And if it wasn't him, it would have been somebody else. Here's a handoff to James again. Going to the wide side of the field. Cuts it in on Javen Williams. And got a gain of about 6 or 7 out of that. Andrew Eisenhower, I saw at the bottom of that pile, was involved with a tackle. Decent drive here with the clock winding down and the Bubblers moving the ball decently with 4:10 to go in the fourth quarter. Wyomissing 40, Boiling Springs, I should say Wyomissing 47, Boiling Springs 7. Devon James here and maybe got out of the line of scrimmage at best. Oh, there's an extra shove after the play. Yeah, the tempers are rising a little bit. Jacob Scott did not care for some of the success and maybe some of the words offered to him from Wyomissing and gave it a little extra shove in the shoulders to Andrew Eisenhower. No harm, but the officials maybe need to make sure everyone stays relatively cool here in the last 3.5 minutes of this game. Speaking of cool, it is chilly. 4th down, they're going for it again. They've already converted on a couple of 4th downs. And here Matt Kramer is going to smack into him and stop him shy of a first down. Jack Lang couldn't get there. Courtesy of Matt Kramer, who brought him down. And on 4th down, Boiling Springs falls short. They'll turn over on downs, and Wyomissing will take over and can pretty much potentially run out the clock to end this game, lock it up, and get us ready for Middletown next week. And what a big week of practice it is coming up on their way to a district final. Middletown going to the district finals for the 5th season in a row. Wyomissing for the 17th year all-time. 4 out of 5 years, Middletown against Wyo in the district finals. Hustling up there, shoved out of bounds is Andrew Delp with a carry. And had a gain of over 15 on the play. Wyo was the 1 seed in the power rankings all season. But on the last weekend of the year, the power rankings and the strength of schedule caught up to Wyo. And, you know, head coach Bob Wolfram, he's been around the block, and he knew this was possible. And he said, you know, kind of it is what it is. Well, you can't do anything about it. And is it disappointing? He said, no, I mean, you know, of course they'd rather play at home. But Middletown had the stronger strength of schedule. That's how it works. Well, he ran into his own guy here. That play didn't really work very well for Charlie McIntyre. There's a flag on the play, too. McIntyre ran into the back of one of his own teammates. Might have been John Gartner ahead of him. And a flag comes in, And another personal foul. This is a face mask against Boiling Springs. With 2:20 left in the game. And the ball is on the YO 45, but we're going to mark it deep into Boiling Springs territory now. YO did not intend to have the weakest strength of schedule in the entire district. It just worked out that way with the opponents that they lost. They would have played a very good Conrad Weiser team in Week 10 had we played the entire regular season. They would have played Southern Columbia, the legendary Southern Columbia program, on October 3rd. But that game was canceled. They had to find a new opponent. They got Plymouth Whitemarsh. Handoff here goes to Jack Miller. All these teams that they woulda, coulda, shoulda, and wanted to play and had scheduled to play. And they didn't get to play any of them. It'll be different in a couple of years with the new league, the 37-team Power Conference. With the Berks teams, they're very excited about this, and Coach Wolfram is the same. You talk about competitive balance. So they're not going to have as many games that are 60-0, which they've had maybe too many of. Here's Andrew Delp carrying it around the right side for a couple, and we're down to 1:20 to go. You'll have some blowouts, but it's going to be better for Kutztown too. You're not going to see the same familiar opponents quite as much. You're going to see Berks Catholic again though, and you'll see Hamburg too. But you won't see Fleetwood or Kutztown, and you'll see some new teams. That's in 2 years, not next year, but the following year. But these teams from Berks, they had their fingers crossed, and finally they made it work. It'll be competitive balance. It's going to be a win-win for almost everyone, I think. All right, under a minute to go, and it looks like they're in victory formation here to take a knee as Ben Zekman touches the knee to the turf, and that's going to do it here. And the Wyomissing Spartans blow away the Boiling Springs Bubblers, and I think surprisingly so, in front of this crowd here at the A Field at YO. They have a lot to be proud of this team. It would have been a much bigger crowd. It would have been a packed house here. We have the social distancing and pandemic situation rules in effect, so it's not quite the same. Next Friday at 7 at Middletown. And the Wyomissing Spartans go to 6-0 with their 34th all-time District 3 playoff victory. Wyomissing 47, Boiling Springs 7. Evan Nadrowski with a pair of touchdown runs, an interception at the goal line when Boiling Springs was threatening to cut the 14-0 lead down to 14-7. And I believe it was Nadrowski who had a fumble recovery in the third quarter too. Not bad. Jordan Allman had a couple of touchdown runs of 32 yards and 50 yards. Oh, there we are. Hello again. And Jordan Allman with a couple of long touchdown runs. Allman's 50-yard touchdown run, if the game hadn't already been put away technically by that point, the first offensive play of the second half for YO with 10:20 to go in the third quarter was a 50-yard touchdown sprint for Allman. That made it 33-0. Andrew Eisenhower a couple of minutes later for 20 yards and 40-0 after the Nadrowski fumble recovery. And Aiden Metzger got Boiling Springs on the board with 2:25 to go in the third quarter on a nice sustained drive and a 40-7 game on Metzger's 3-yard run. Elijah Smith with 10:28 left in the fourth quarter on a 32-yard run to complete the scoring, 47-7. It was 260 yards in the first half for the Wyomissing offense. Probably another 150 or more here in the second half. So it's well over 400 yards, almost certainly, for Wyomissing in this game. And a game where I still feel the score is a little deceiving because this is not the same kind of blowout that we saw against some of the earlier opponents of this season where YO made it look easy. Here they faced a team that's pretty good at 4-1, a Boiling Springs team that kind of shocked the world and made it into the district playoffs. And they gave Middletown all they could handle a couple weeks ago when the Blue Raiders won 20-16 in a very close game. So Boiling Springs can play ball. And they drove 3 times deep into Wyo territory, twice in the first half. They drove to the 10 and the 15 against the first-string defense of Wyomissing. They held tough, but without the interception by Nadrowski and a couple of sacks at the end of the first half, we could have had a very different score at halftime. Instead of 27-0, could have been a 14-7 game if they had scored before that Nadrowski pick. Could have been 28-14, 27-14 at halftime. That has certainly a different feel than 27-0 on our way to 47-7. They were big plays for Wyo. They dominated this game. And this time it was against a team that is actually pretty good and absolutely knows what they're doing and could kind of contend with Wyomissing. And Wyo still ends up blowing them away by 40 points in the final margin. So this is their most impressive game of the year just because of the competition. This is their first real measuring stick. Coming into this game, there was a lot of, okay, Wyo, show us what you got, because you've been blowing away teams that just aren't that as good, that couldn't even really stay with Wyomissing. This is a Boiling Springs team that is good and 4-1. And so would they be able to make it a tight game? Would we be looking at a 20-20 tie going into the fourth quarter? Boiling Springs has some defense, and they just couldn't hold up Wyomissing, not enough. So instead of big 50-yard runs, which Wyo kind of made a habit of in many of their earlier games, they had a couple of those here today, but we had a lot of more sustained drives, picking up 5, 10-yard chunks at a time and just driving the ball downfield and backing in the Boiling Springs Bubblers defense for many of these touchdowns where they racked up the 27-0 lead in the first half. So now Wyomissing passes their first real test of the season, and they do so with flying colors. And a Middletown team that barely squeaked past Boiling Springs a couple weeks ago, 20-16, they're looking at this game going, okay, we didn't know if Wyo was for real or not because they've been beating these teams that haven't been so good. Now Middletown is going, okay, Wyo, we were pretty sure they were for real, and now we see they are really for real. It sets up the 4th time in 5 years that Wyomissing and Middletown will meet in the district final. It's next Friday night on the road at Middletown because they just squeaked it out by like 1/1000th of a percentage point or whatever it was, because Steel High won that last game on Saturday afternoon, and that on strength of schedule on a completely different game, it pushed Middletown ahead of Wyo in the power conference or the power ratings. And so they played in Wyo last year, and Wyomissing won 24-21. This coming Friday night, they return the favor back out in Middletown next Friday night at 7 o'clock in the AAA District 3 final. It should be a good one, I think. And I think that Middletown is they're pretty good. They lost some guys from last year, but they're always good. And I think they're going to give Wyo a tougher game than Boiling Springs did here today. And Boiling Springs very nearly gave Wyo a tougher game and showed that you can move the ball against this Wyomissing defense. If they hadn't been their own worst enemy on a couple of the sacks and the turnovers there on the goal line, Boiling Springs could have hung around in this game a bit longer. So that's what we have here. My name is Bob Rotrek. Thanks for watching, everyone. Again, our final score here today from the A field in Wyomissing. The Wyomissing Spartans 47, the Boiling Springs Bubblers 7 on SFBN.